What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? How's everyone doing today? I'm going to be doing something a little special for you today, something different from the norm. And if you couldn't already tell, this is a 2v2. Yes, this is in fact a 2 versus 2. We're taking a look at a Zerg and Protoss player versus a Protoss and Terran player. So TP versus ZP. And yeah, I'm looking forward to this. This is going to be quite exciting. I have not seen this game. I always make sure I do not pre-screen the games when it comes to regular commentary. I only, of course, do that for the strategy videos. Why are we looking at a 2v2? Is this a 2v2 of your Self-Force? No. I do, of course, do 2v2 with my buddy Tempest most frequently. But I haven't really cast one of those in a while. But the reason I'm doing this, and the reason this is even coming up for you today, is because this was on the Ghost of Gamers replay website. And Ghost of Gamers is pretty much a really nice website to get high-quality replays. They typically have really good games, and they've got things called a recommended replay system where basically people say, hey, this is something that's really solid. This is an excellent game. Everyone should check it out. Whenever I see a game that's recommended replay, I almost always try to cast it, and I saw a 2v2 recommended replay, and I said, wow, okay, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take a look at that. So let's just take a look at the players very quickly. No one you may know right off the bat, but I'll tell you right away, these are high-level players. They're definitely pretty solid, pretty strong. You can see, although most of this is spamming, this is APM. I expect them to be hovering around 100 for the entire game. So we have Borislav as the green Protoss over here. NuclearMan is the blue Terran player. It looks like both of them are going to be going for a wall-off. That will, of course, be necessary against their Zerg opponent here, NetskyWeRRa. And now WeRRa is going to be a familiar clan name to you. A lot of solid players play in WeRRa, and Netsky is one of them most certainly. And then over here as the yellow Protoss, we would have CaptainOD. So I'm going to be calling him Captain. I'm going to be going for Netsky over here. This guy is going to be Boris. And over here, we're going to be seeing Nuclear. So here we go, taking a look in Nuclear and Boris's base. Let's see how they're looking in terms of build. Nuclear looking to play pretty standard so far. Taking a look over here for Boris, what does he have going on? Looks pretty standard for him as well. Hopping on over to Netsky's base. Looks like he's going to be open up with one base play. He's actually going to be able to get out that Metaball boost right away. There it is, in fact. And over here for CaptainOD, he is opening up with a quick second gateway there. There's that Cyber Core. So maybe seeing some harassment over here. Something that was very popular in the 2v2 ladder. I saw a lot of people do. You know, again, Tempest and I play quite often, and I was seeing a lot of people, when you're looking at ZP, they bring Overlords to hover at the edge of your base, and then you'd have pylons, and then they'd use vision with the Overlord to warp it into your base. Not as effective on a map like this since both players share it, but when you're in a 2v2 and you're split up from your ally, it can be incredibly effective and very frustrating to deal with. It looks like, though, Netsky and his ally Captain will not be doing that, though, because those Overlords are nowhere near those bases, at least at this point in the game. We are seeing Captain moving out with that probe, probably just doing some scouting, wants to see if anything funny is going on. Taking a look over here, a little bit worried about early pressure. Looks like that early bunker going to be used to try to fend some of that off. Also seeing a Reaper come out right now for Nuclear. Loving the Reaper scout as a Terran player. Reaper scouting in 2v2 matchups, it's so phenomenal, especially since there's so much cheese typically involved. Getting that secondary scouting really early in the game can be incredibly beneficial. Captain, second gateway is in. Warp gate research not even started. What in the F is he doing over here? We do have some early stalkers coming out, so going to be pumping out those stalkers. There we go. Captain finally coming out with that warp gate research. I'm fairly disappointed with the fact that that took so long. There's also a third gateway coming out right now as well. Couple stalkers for Captain, and Captain also moving out with his buddy WeRRa Netsky. There we go. That's what I'm going to call him. Taking a look in Nuclear's base, we do have Stim Pack coming down. There's some Marines going to be filling up that bunker. Nothing coming out of the factory as of yet. He does also have that second refinery up and running. Now, Boris looks like he's going to be going for some Blink Stalker action. We do have a 1, 2, 3 gateways so far. Could very well even go for a fourth gateway as well. You can pretty much maintain a 4-gate Blink Stalker action. Boris trying to move over here to drop a pylon, but it looks like that is not going to happen. The Zerglings of our buddy Netsky did mop that up fairly quickly. Take a look over here. One probe sitting over there for Boris. We'd also have a couple of stalkers for Captain over there. Looks like Netsky is getting primed to move out for his expansion. Layer is already up and running. Is he going to take advantage of that layer tech? There's an infestation pit. So yes, he will in fact be doing that. We do have, there's that third gateway and a robo coming out right now for Captain. So Captain going to be starting out with that 3-gate robo. As soon as that robo is up, I'm going to expect an observer to start moving on out. And now Boris over here not going to have that robo out for quite some time if he really decides to go strong for this Blink Stalker action. We can see over here, Nuclear is looking to expand himself. He does, of course, have siege tanks coming out. There is that siege tech going to be researching right now as well, and a starport moving on through as well over here for Nuclear. NetskyWeRRa sitting in the middle with those Zerglings. That, of course, is very nice. CaptainOD over here with that proxy pylon. Looks like Captain and NetskyWeRRa may be deciding to be aggressive sometime soon. Observer going to be spotting the possible expo over here. Something else to realize about this map: besides that first expo right outside the main base for you and your ally, it becomes a little bit difficult to expand. We do have these expansions right here, dead set in the middle. Those are so vulnerable, though. There's so many angles and so many pathways to hit it from. A little bit scary. As a Terran player, you're always, of course, going to want to make that a planetary fortress. Having some sort of static defenses up in that center base is very necessary. Now, beyond that point, your next expansions are far out in this corner and then all the way over here. And this is very difficult because let's take a look at the main and wrap around and look how long it takes ground troops to get to defend these expos. If you try to expand over here, it takes forever to get defenses over there unless you're dropping them or have air units to defend there. And that, of course, is again something that can be very frustrating. Captain moving out into his expo as well. Looks like Boris looking to take center of the map control there with those blink stalkers. Blink stalkers with some micro, of course, going to be very, very effective. There is that proxy pylon right there. So actually, Boris and pals may be looking to push forward too, but no, canceling the proxy pylon. Boris deciding no, it's time to push back right now. I don't know what he said shit for. Maybe it's because he didn't mean to cancel that proxy pylon. Some nice tech over here. Loving those infestors in play already. Everyone's been fairly passive so far in the game. Both teams looking to expand right now. We can see the transfer of workers going down over there for Nuclear. There is also that Reaper going to be moving on through to do some scouting, hopefully. Looks like those Blink Stalkers going to be starting to work some action here. Are they going to get up? We could see a scan from his ally, and that would, of course, be very effective. If Nuclear scans the top. There it is. Scan going on the top. Blink Stalkers moving on in. Needs to be careful, though. Lots of speedlings in here. The entire force of NetskyWeRRa and Captain moving down. Fungal growth. They cannot blink away right now. There is the surround. Finally able to blink, but that is too late, unfortunately, there for Boris. Lost a lot of his troops. That is something that can be, of course, incredibly frustrating to deal with. That Blink Stalker harass obviously can be quite effective, but with that fungal growth and the Zerglings getting that surround, unfortunately for Boris, didn't quite pan out the way he probably would have hoped. So now at this point, Boris, going to be pretty far behind. He's still on the one base. He did, of course, go for that 4-gate robo. There, in fact, is a 5th gateway as well. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 gateways. So Boris definitely going to need to do some damage unless he decides to push out and get an expansion. Looks like he will be doing that, though. This is going to be a little difficult for him to actually defend. As I mentioned, these outlying expansions, very difficult to defend. Looks like we did see a little bit of drop harass there from Nuclear, actually forcing the stoppage of mining over here for CaptainOD. So yeah, there you have it. So let's see where that is going. Is it going to be going heading back to the main base? Yes, it will. In fact, sorry if I do miss any action whatsoever in this game. I guarantee there's going to be a lot going on. Again, this was a recommended replay, so I'm sure at the later stages of the game, past the macro heavy early game, this is going to be getting pretty intense. We can see Boris moving out with those Blink Stalkers, also having that one Zealot over there, and those Stalkers going to be catching that Overlord quite easily. Couple Zerglings spotting the middle of the map here for NetskyWeRRa. NetskyWeRRa working on his macro. Let's take a look. Pumping out some infestors, also getting ready to transition into roaches as well. Here is Boris's expansion, again, very vulnerable, just as vulnerable, of course, as CaptainOD's expansion over here, but Captain a little better prepared to actually defend this with these units, and then able to pull on back with those to defend the natural expansion here of NetskyWeRRa if need be. Blink Stalkers moving down, trying to catch some of those Zerglings. They may have caught a few. I don't think they got too many, though. Looks like Nuclear is going to be helping out his buddy Boris over here by setting up some tanks to try to help defend this. We can see those tanks going to be able to shell the basically this half of any units to try to push up there. However, they could have, of course, just go over here. So hopefully we see some tanks a little bit further in. Boris also coming down with some cannons to help defend that expansion. Also, of course, really liking the sensor tower. Sensor tower is very effective. Very effective in any team games, I would have to say. Still that one Overlord scouting over here. He should move in at some point to see the expansion. He will just be able to click on these, though, once some units actually start mining from there and see that they're a little bit depleted. That'll be basically a full insight as to the fact that there is some mining going on over here. That's basically all you need to see. Just click on this. You see some of these are depleted, and there you have it. You're fully aware as to what's going on. A couple of Zealots being warped in over here. Looks like those are are going to be sent out, try to do a little bit of damage over here into Captain's expansion. Unfortunately, that is not going to work, though. Those Zealots streaming on in are going to walk right into the main force there of Captain, and there you go. Taken quite easily. I don't think they did anything at all. I think they just walked into their doom there. Moving on out with some Zerglings as well. Going to try to get control of the Xel'Naga Tower, holding the middle, holding towers, very important in team play. Blink Stalkers moving down, though, to take care of the Zerglings. Are they going to get there in time? Looks like they do. Just barely managing to defend that pylon and shoo off those Zerglings. A little lucky, though, the fact that the fact that Netsky didn't actually move up with those Zerglings and the Infestors, because he could have taken care of that those Blink Stalker threats quite easily. As mentioned prior, looks like both teams are pretty much just looking to macro up, but Boris getting his units caught out of position. There's the fungal growth. Zerglings getting us around. Roach is moving on forward as well. Of course, those Stalkers cannot blink when they've got that fungal growth on them. A few Stalkers do manage to get to the low ground, but I don't know how much further they're going to make it. The units here of Netsky and his buddy Captain completely mopped up almost all his Blink Stalkers. This is a second point in the game that Boris has lost the bulk of his army. Very, very scary indeed. That's pretty much the last thing you want to happen. Boris laughing at the absurdity of the fact that he lost so much there. We do still have, again, this one proxy pylon over here going to be spotting that tower, so he will see when the other team does manage to actually go ahead and take that. Netsky doing a fantastic job of trying to keep his resources nice and low. Looks like we are seeing a couple of Banelings roll in there, and that of course is going to help against the marine heavy composition here of Nuclear. Nuclear, is he sitting with any Marines over here? No, just that turret is some anti-air defense. So seeing, yeah, again, just macro focus right now. Neither team really going too all out, trying anything too fancy, too ridiculous. Just basically working their way up into the mid and the late game. These kind of games are always really nice to see. However, with this, in conjunction with this, it's obviously really important to try to harass your opponents, try to do some damage. Things as simple as, we saw the fact that Boris did try to warp in those Zealots and send them into this expansion over here of Captain. That didn't work, as you saw, but at least attempting things like that, always going to be a good idea in this team play. We can see a huge death ball here of Captain and Netsky just rolling across the center of the map. Now, come the late stage of the game, controlling the center of the map is definitely where it is all out. Catching a few units here of Boris out of position, and one thing you definitely do not want to do in team games is engage away from your allies' army. You're just going to lose. That's a 2-on-1 situation. There's really no clear way to win that, and look at this. Netsky and Captain gonna go right into Boris's expansion. This should be easy pickings for them. We do have some units moving down right now for Nuclear. I don't think it's gonna be quick enough, though. This is a huge problem with these outlying bases. They're so easy to snipe down if both players just move right into it. Stim Marines moving down, but look at that fungal growth. See you later, Marines. Fungal growth plus a couple of shots from those Colossus, and that entire Marine army just got completely mopped up. Tank line going to start shelling to hell these units, but at this point, Captain and Netsky should just push back. They already have that victory in taking out that Expo. There's really no reason to walk on the siege line. What are they doing, though? Captain walking right into those units. Hopefully, he moves on back now. Again, you take out the expansion, just go home. Mission accomplished. That's all you need to do. There's no reason to try to, walk into a siege line. It's pretty much the last thing that you want to do. Very nice, though, there by Captain and Netsky. Taking out that Expo, that's going to be a big victory and definitely going to come into play later in the game, I would have to imagine. Looks like Boris going to be moving out across the map. I'm not sure if he knows, but we're actually taking this base. Very interesting by him. You do not typically see that position taken by the players on this portion of the map. It seems rightfully to go to the other team, so going to be a little interesting to see how well he's going to be able to defend. I would really like to see some continuation of creep spread, allowing him to, of course, reinforce that area much more quickly. Looks like Nuclear going to be moving to try to get control of the middle of the map here with this heavy siege line. He should be able to, at the very least, defend an expansion up here. The major concern there is if he gets pushed against by both teams. Again, you need to be very, very careful in these team games to make sure you're engaging as one cohesive unit. If you try to engage separately, it's going to be a problem. Captain almost losing that, though. The Stim Marauders could have sniped that down very quickly, but here we go. weRRA moving forward. Netsky with the fungal growth. Fungal growth just been devastating so far in the game, but needs to be careful. Does not want to walk into that siege line. Lots of SCVs as a little bit of far there, but another big fungal growth doing so much damage to the bio. That siege line is continuing back here, though, so lots of damage being shelled down, and Captain and Netsky just lost a lot of their army. They did take out a lot of those tanks, but it's still, at what cost was it? There was a really nice tank spread here by Nuclear, and that worked out definitely in his favor. I'd have to say, man, I gotta tell you, after watching this, I cannot wait to play some 2v2s tonight with my bud. So anyways, yes, we do have the High Templar moving across. Needs to be careful, though. Colossus on the high ground, as well as a couple Zealots here from Captain. And again, that siege line still holding him there. That's definitely what you need. Siege lines like that going to be very effective come the later stages of the game at trying to defend the center portion of the map. Some Stim Marauders taking out what looked to be an infested Terran. I believe that was dropped by that infestor over here. Looks like both teams sitting at the center of the map here. Would really like to see Boris come into the equation, though. I haven't really seen Boris bring much of anything to help Nuclear defend over here. Nuclear's pretty much been on his own. There was a few units, I think just a High Templar and a couple of Zealots, but not a whole lot else. Nuclear just basically relying on his very strong siege line here, and those Marines and Marauders definitely working quite well for him. Lots of Colossus coming into play. Hopefully we see somewhat of a Viking transition from Nuclear. That's probably going to be very necessary come the later portion of this game, and it looks like CaptainOD and Netsky going to be looking to actually snipe the other corner of the base, but these tanks are in a prime position to pick those units off if they try to do that. Colossus could sit over here, but here we go. Here comes a push, just completely circumventing the middle. Going to be trying to roll straight into the main base, and this is very dangerous right now. What's going to happen? Same time, counterattack going down. Marines and Marauders going to be trying to take out CaptainOD's expansion. Here we go with all of the units of Netsky. Colossus raining hell. Holy hell, I had trouble speaking right there. Just raining hell of the main base and the natural expansion over here. Nuclear is in a lot of danger. Going to be losing some of these production buildings as well. Forced to pull back right now. The bio army here of Nuclear is going to be rolling back in the main base. This is very dangerous right now. Captain and Netsky going to be starting to take out these production buildings. This is the last thing you want. Boris saying, OMG, he is not too happy with the situation. There are a lot of Colossus, plus that Zerg army. Here we go, finally Nuclear pulling back to help out his ally and try to save his production buildings. This is a big problem right now for Nuclear and Boris. The fact that they're losing these production buildings is going to set them back tremendously. Warp Gate very close to dropping, and just look at this death ball of units just continuing to pick things off, going for those pylons, trying to unpower these, also trying to go for that supply block. There's some force fields. I'm not sure how he's going to do against this. His bio army is pretty strong. Are we going to see a stim pack go down? Looks like those tanks are staying unsieged just for some of their typical normal DPS. I think we just saw a big feedback there go down as well. Very nice play. Nuclear gonna finally mop up the force here of Captain. At the same time, some Zerglings moving into Nuclear's expansion, gonna start taking out some of these SCVs. Finally, the main force here inside of Boris's and Nuclear's base has been mopped up. Nuclear is forced to lift off with that orbital command. Now, we did see very nice play there by Nuclear, managing to snipe down that expansion of Captain, but at the same time, that forced liftoff here, Nuclear has stopped some mining. Some Zerglings gonna be moving into the expo over here of Boris, and Boris gonna have a very hard time dealing with this. Those probes gonna do what they can, but it's not gonna be enough. A couple of Zealots coming into play as well. And actually, looks like those Zerglings have finally been shoot back, but unfortunately walking into the units of Nuclear. So Nuclear managing to mop some stuff up there, and wow, some pretty intense action. I've actually lost my voice in the middle of that, so that was pretty dumb. Sorry for that, guys. But Nuclear looking to set up shop again. Needs to try to get up this expo, start to get some mining down. You know, we're going to get into the position in the game. Like you can see right now, we're hovering close to 20 minutes of real time here, and we come at that point, you really start to struggle for economy on this map in particular. Like I mentioned, it's so hard to defend those expansions. You know, you've seen why. It's so easy to harass and you know, try to take out workers and just be a nuisance at any expos beyond those ones in your first base and the natural. The middle one especially, very difficult to actually get up and running. Couple High Templar just sacrificing themselves. Apparently they didn't want to do anything but walk into their doom. Marines and Marauders going down for the snipe. See how quickly those Marauders drop these buildings, forcing the cancellation. Captain gonna be without, and he can't get it up. That sounded wrong, but he's not going to be able to get up his expo because of this creep spread here from his ally, Netsky. That is not good. So this expansion is gonna go to Netsky because it can go to no one else because of this creep, unless he kills off this tumor, which it doesn't look like he's going to. So Captain's probably there. He kills the tumor. He was super pissed about that. I would have to imagine. Nuclear and Boris looking to try to maintain control of the middle at the same time, though. Captain and Netsky trying to do the same thing. Looks like they are sitting with a superior army, but we have just seen Nuclear doing tremendous work with his bio and tanks. It's just been very effective so far in the game. Taking a look over here, we've got one Zealot from Boris harassing the expo over here. It looks like those roaches popping, though. We're going to be able to take care of that. So the army here of Captain and Netsky going to be able to move back to the center. But you can see right now both teams just sitting in the center of the map. And again, Netsky, he is going to have to take this expo because... yeah, because Captain can't do it quite yet, unless he's going to, yeah, it looks like he's just going to wait for that creep to recede, though. Slowly pushing forward with the tank line. At the same time, some units from Boris checking the possible expos over here. Tank line creeping ever closer to the possible expansion here of Captain. and NetskyWeRRa. And wow, this harassment from the Terran player been very effective thus far in the game. Needs to be careful though of this Colossus line, this Protoss Death Ball plus all these infestors from NetskyWeRRa. Nice fungal growth going down, doing a lot of damage to these units. Don't think it's going to kill him off though. Looks like those Colossus going to move forward though, take a few pop shots. Couple Vikings in play. Would actually like to see a lot more of those from Nuclear. He's going to need those. A very Colossus heavy play here from Captain, and obviously getting some Vikings is going to be what you need to properly deal with that. Captain moving down with a Colossus of his own to check the possible expansions. Walking right into the tank line, though. See you later, Colossus. Getting sniped down very quickly. Nice scan going out from Nuclear just to see the fact that this expansion is no longer up here. Right now, economy-wise, it looks like our pals, Nuclear and Boris, are going to be winning this battle. They're just sitting with the stronger economy. There's no doubt about that at this point. We can see the green and blue player, both with a stronger economy than their enemies here, NetskyWeRRa and Captain. I don't even know what I'm saying for words here. But Boris and Nuclear in a very aggressive stance. Going to be, again, very difficult for a Captain to actually get up and have this expo running. We can see a nice split here of units, so NetskyWeRRa sitting with his army over here, and at the same time Captain over here, but does need to be careful because they do not want to get caught out of position. To be so easy for Nuclear and Boris to mop up one of their army while the other army is just completely far away from engagement. That's something you need to be very careful of. And the Zerg army right now going to be pushing up right into the tank line. Very dangerous at the same time. Push coming from the opposite direction. Colossus raining hell. Look at that fungal growth. Just a green carpet of goo and mess all over the bio units. And this sandwich looks like it may have actually worked. Captain with those Colossus followed up by that fungal growth, just doing tremendous amounts of damage. The bio army and that tank line had just been torn through, and my gosh, they were at a disadvantage economically, but it looks like they did just win that engagement. Are they going to continue up this push? They really need to try to take out this expo of Nuclear. If they can do that, if they can regain control in the middle, they could very well have this game. An unbelievable play really there by NetskyWeRRa and Captain, pushing from both angles. You saw that fungal growth carpet. That was just absolutely ridiculous. I do not see anything over here from Nuclear and Boris to actually help out. They are just looking to be in a really bad position right now. Taking a look here, Boris doing what he can, but he doesn't have a whole heck of a lot. Blinkstalkers trying to micro away. There are just too many units here, though, from Captain. Looks like that is the last of NetskyWeRRa's army over here. Hopefully, we're seeing some reinforcements. Couple of Overlords moving down and actually sniping down that one Colossus and pushing back the counterattack there from Captain and NetskyWeRRa. And are they going to be okay here? We got a couple of Banelings rolling in, some continuous reinforcements. Maybe that economy is going to end up shining through. Boris and Nuclear moving out for some continuous harassment, moving down with some Zerglings and Banelings, trying to roll right into those Marines. There we go, doing a bit of damage there. A Captain trying to push out with this counterattack. There are a lot of units here, though, from Nuclear and Boris, and I think this is getting pushed back. Unbelievable. The economy definitely starting to shine through right now. Boris and Nuclear were able to fend off that attack when it looked like they had nothing, just because of that superior economy, and that's all due to the harassment that they've been doing to the expansions of their opponents. Captain rolling forward again with those Colossus, but Stim Marines and Marauders going down, and some Viking, no Vikings, Stim Marauders, Marines, and some Blink Stalkers to snipe down those Colossus. See you later, Colossus. Couple of Banelings gonna try to roll forward and need to be very careful about those light units, those Marines. Marauders not that scary, and actually Captain gonna be forced to pull down with some of his workers to try to deal with this engagement. Blink Stalkers microing away. I really think Nuclear and Boris have it at this point in the game. Looks like, unfortunately, NetskyWeRRa did end up losing that expansion. Sorry if I missed that over there. We do see a drop over here from Nuclear to try to do some harassment as well. This engagement in the middle has just been completely nuts, though. Captain moving out with a DT. Is that going to be enough? Tank fire going down. We do have lots of workers coming into play. Zerglings rolling on forward. Roaches target firing down that tank. A couple of drops here on the high ground, but DT just shredding apart the bio army of Nuclear. We do have a couple of probes going to work here on this Marauder. Zealot's pushing forward. You're going to actually push back the units there of NetskyWeRRa. Some more guys going up on the high ground. Those DT finally getting scanned, so those should be able to get taken care of sometime soon. This is a little bit of a scary situation right now. I did not realize the fact that NetskyWeRRa actually lost this. I'm sorry that I missed that. There's just, again, this is 2v2. There's a hell of a lot going on. Some Banelings rolling forward. Some nice pickup there by Nuclear, though. Completely avoiding those Banelings. Banelings rolling into some Stalkers. That is not dangerous at all. Don't really have to worry about that. Forced to come down with some more of his workers. Captain, the more time he's not spending mining, the worse off he is. Fungal growth going down, but I don't think there are even enough units to make that effective. Another scan going down to try to catch his DT right here. Again, some guys on the high ground. We have some guys who are chilling over here. Hopefully those come into play and do something. Shooing back that one DT. Finally, the scan does dissipate. They're going to be able to push back in there. Another scan going down. And Nuclear and Boris continuing up this push. There is the GG from CaptainOD, and it looks like NetskyWeRRa just left the game as well. So, wow, guys, I don't know what to say. That was pretty intense. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed this. This was pretty much my first actual 2v2 commentary. I've done 2v2 strategy videos from games that myself and my buddy Tempest have done before, but never tried a commentary, especially solo. This was pretty nuts. Let me know what you guys thought. If you liked it, I might consider to look to do some more 2v2 commentaries again in the future. And anyways, guys, if you like the content, be sure to subscribe to the channel. And as always, keep watching and keep owning.